please take a moment to review the Medtronic disclosure statement. The producer and presenter in this course, you will learn about the major structures of the heart, the pathway of the blood in the circulatory system, and channels involved in each phase of this menu provides the topics covered in this module. Click on the topic to view the corresponding video clip.
I have returned.
Welcome back.
To what are we watching?
I think I was just watching like TSM videos or something. Maybe he went to go eat and get food.
What's up?
This is positive.
I'll be back. I'm gonna make food.
Bye.
Oh. Hello?
What's up?
Hello, I'm back.
I'm gonna go make food.
Okay, bye. I can help you.
Are you studying, Alex?
Yeah, and I'm watching and eating before I start studying again.
Mm.
Watching little, watch 3 former pros, play ranked flex in bronze elo.
Oh, is it Double Lip, Medios, and what's his face?
And sneaky.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh, what are you working on again? Like,
This morning I corrected this one girl's essay for her application process. She's like trying to
wait,
apply
repeat
to
that. Sorry, you're really quiet. I had to turn you up. An essay for...
some art school. It's just one girl. So I was doing that from like 9 to 10 something. So
Oh,
I like wrote out a schedule sheet. And then, but then what I'm
gotcha.
studying for is the technical stuff for my interview.
Oh, the technical interview questions.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let me know if my background noise is too much, and then I can just mute myself.
Why is this so important? In blood abbreviated in a way that other doctors can easily recognize. This number is the level of sodium in the blood, abbreviated Na, and this number is the potassium in the blood, labeled K. Now, sodium and potassium are elements that we find all throughout our body. In our body, these atoms are positively charged, and charged particles are known as ions. So when we write sodium, we always put a little plus sign, and potassium has a plus sign as well. Well, notice there's a lot more sodium than there is potassium normally found in the blood. In this video, we're going to talk about the cardiac conduction. P-wave, the QRS complex, and the T-wave. We'll introduce the concept of electrical vectors and of the delayed in a T-wave. In hospitals, we frequently use monitors such as this one to record the electrocardiogram. However, most of the time the ECG is printed on paper. The paper has a distinctive grid of heavy and light lines that allow us to make precise measurements of the different waves and intervals. Sometimes we'll be monitoring a simple electrocardiographic recording, but a complete recording of the electrical activity of the heart is known as a 12-lead electrocardiogram. This refers to the fact that the electrical signal is recorded from different combinations of electrodes on the patient's arms and legs. For example, lead 1 is recorded from the right arm to the left arm, whereas lead 2 is recorded from the right arm to the left leg. The difference has to do with the direction of the electrical signal as it travels through the heart. The normal P wave starts in the top of the right atrium and travels down and towards the patient's left. Likewise, the electrical signal in the ventricle travels down and towards the patient's left as the signal is conducted down the His-Purkinje system. Therefore, the normal direction that electrical signals travel within the heart is down and towards the left, and this direction is known as a vector. When we record a standard electrocardiogram, we place electrodes on all 4 limbs, and the different ECG leads depend on which extremities we record from. As mentioned before, lead 1 records electrical activity between the right arm and the left arm. Therefore, any signals that are traveling in a horizontal direction will be recorded in lead 1, upright if they're headed towards the left arm, and inverted if they're traveling in the opposite direction. Lead 2, on the other hand, is recorded from the right arm to the left leg, so any signals traveling in this direction will result in an upward deflection in lead 2. Place electrodes on all 4 limbs, and the different ECG leads depend on which extremities we record from. As mentioned before, lead 1 records electrical activity between the right arm and the left arm. Therefore, any signals that are traveling in a horizontal direction will be recorded in lead 1, upright if they're headed towards the left arm, and inverted if they're traveling in the opposite direction. Lead 2, on the other hand, is recorded from the right arm to the left leg, so any signals traveling in this direction will result in an upward deflection on all 4 limbs, and the different ECG leads depend on the right arm and the left arm. Therefore, any signals that are traveling in a horizontal direction will be recorded in lead 1, upright if they're headed towards the left arm, and inverted
Is
if they're
LCS playing again
traveling in the opposite
tonight?
direction. Lead 2,
No,
on
it's
the
just
other hand,
I'm watching
is
the co-stream.
recorded from the right arm to the left leg, so any signals
Okay.
traveling in this
Kelly!
direction will result
Hi,
in
Steph.
in lead 2.
Oh, hold
Lead
up.
3 is traveling from the left
Wait, you're
arm
watching
to
a
the left
co-stream?
leg,
What?
and signals
Oh, it's
in
not.
this
It's a
direction
video.
will be upright in lead 3.
Oh, okay. I was like, doesn't
Close
that imply?
examination of a standard
there's
12-lead ECG shows
There's one
indeed
later
there are
though,
12 leads,
at like 2:30, I think, or 1.
AVR,
2:30.
AVL, and
Okay. Who's
AVF,
playing?
which are considered
C9
lead
versus
leads, using
EG.
different combinations of
Okay.
electrodes on the
Oh, let me
limbs.
tell my mom.
The V
Mom.
leads, V1
Why
through
you-
V6, are recorded by placing electrodes across the left side of the chest. These are lead 2, on the other hand, is recorded from the right arm to the left leg, so any signals traveling in this direction will result in an upward deflection in lead 2. Lead 3 is traveling from the left arm to the left leg, and signals in this direction will be upright in lead 3. Close examination of a standard 12-lead ECG shows indeed there are 12 leads, 1, 2, 3, AVR, AVL, and AVF, which are considered the limb leads, using different combinations of electrodes on the limbs. The V leads, V1 through V6, are recorded by placing electrodes across the left side of the chest. These are known as precordial leads. Let us now examine this grid in more detail. The grid is based on the metric system. Each small box is 1 millimeter tall and 1 millimeter wide. Heavy lines occur every 5 millimeters, so you can easily measure how many millimeters you're dealing with. The size of the electrocardiographic signal is known as the amplitude. It's based on a standard measurement of 10 millimeters, equaling 1 millivolt. Let's review what exactly is a millivolt. In the metric system, milli means 1,000th, so 1 millivolt is equal to 1,000th of a volt. So that's actually a pretty small number. But remember, these electrical signals generated by the heart are extremely small, and we have to amplify these signals tremendously in order to be meters you're. metric system of 10 millivolts high, so this P wave is a 1/10 of a millivolt. 1 millivolt. That means 1 millimeter is 1/10 of that amplitude. 1 millimeter would be equal to 1/10 of a millivolt. Now you can start to make measurements that way. If you look at the size of this P wave, it's about one small box high. So this P wave is about 1/10 of a millivolt in amplitude. The QRS complex, however, is just over 12 millimeters high. From here to here is 10 plus an additional 2, and 12 millimeters would be equal to 1.2 millivolts. So that's how you can measure the 12-lead electrocardiograph signals. On the right-hand side, you'll see something called a standardization pulse. If we zoom in on one of these pulses, we should be able to measure the size of the standardization pulse as being 10 millimeters. This tells us that the machine is indeed set for the standard amplitude display. As far as time measurements, consider that many ECGs utilize a moving strip of paper, and as the paper moves to the left, the electrocardiographic signal is written by a pen or a thermal printer. So the speed of the paper ultimately determines how wide these signals appear. Our paper grid has a time standard of 25 millimeters per second. That means that 25 small boxes will be equal to 1 second. You can count off 25 small boxes pretty easily because each heavy line is 5. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and this equals 1 second. Some people think in terms of fractions of a second when looking at an electrocardiographic grid. So 5 small boxes would be equal to 1/5 of a second. But fractions are sometimes difficult to use, and it's often easier to think in terms of milliseconds. Going back to the metric system, 1 millisecond is 1/1000th of a second, and therefore there are 1,000 milliseconds covered in the space of 25 millimeters. If we divide 1,000 by 25, we get 40 milliseconds per millimeter. Therefore, one of these small boxes, or 1 millimeter, represents 40 milliseconds of time. It makes it much easier to count things up. Consider that 5 small boxes would be equal to 200 milliseconds. Expressing that as 200 1,000ths, that's the same as 2 small PR interval. The PR and the small 20 millisecond. Then another 160 ends on this thin line. This equals 80 milliseconds. The normal QRS should be between 80 and 120 milliseconds in duration. We know that ventricular repolarization is associated with a T wave, but the time interval between the beginning of the QRS complex and the end of the T wave becomes important in diagnosing certain electrocardiographic abnormalities. This QT interval is measured just like all the other intervals, counting up the number of small boxes and multiplying by 40 milliseconds. Here we have 9 small boxes, and you can either do the math in your head or you can count them off. This would be 200, and then another 160 gives us a QT interval of 360 milliseconds. And so, in summary, we talked about the cardiac conduction system and its function, and how the electrocardiographic waves P, QRS, and T correspond with certain events that occur in the cardiac cycle. We learned that the electrocardiogram is obtained by recording signals from the different limb leads and also from the precordial leads across the chest wall. And we'll learn how to use this information to determine direction of the electrical signal called the vector. We also learned how to use the grid on the electrocardiogram to make certain standard measurements, including both time intervals as well as size or amplitude. And 100. The PR interval is the time between the beginning of the P wave and the beginning of the QRS complex. In this case, it's easy to see that the QRS starts on this thin line, so we can measure back to see when the P wave starts. So this is 1 small box, 2, 3.5 small boxes. Remember, every small box is 40 milliseconds. That equals 140 milliseconds for the PR interval. What's a normal PR interval? Well, the normal PR interval should be between 120 and 200 milliseconds. We already measured the QRS duration in this cardiogram. It starts on this thin line, and the QRS ends on this thin line. This equals 80 milliseconds. The normal QRS should be between 80 and 120 milliseconds in duration. We know that ventricular repolarization is associated with a T wave, but the time interval between the beginning of the QRS complex and the end of the T wave becomes important in diagnosing certain electrocardiographic abnormalities. This QT interval is measured just like all the other intervals, counting up the number of small boxes. Time interval between the beginning of the QRS complex and the end of the tonalities, this 30 millisystem and its function, and another 100 waves, P, QRS, and increments.
Is 12.
In this
I feel
video,
you.
we're going to
My
review the
mom
standard
has been
calibration grid that
dehydrating
we
and doing a
use
bunch of shit.
to
You know,
measure
like
amplitude
banana
and
leaves to
timing
make
on
that
Oh
an
yeah,
better.
ECG.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We will
She
learn
like
3
took
different ways to
hours
calculate
cleaning
the
it.
heart rate. We'll practice making ECG measurements, and we'll learn the normal ranges for the PR interval, the QRS duration, and the QT interval. We will also learn how to calculate the corrected QT interval, or QTC. Let's first review the standard grid that all ECGs are printed on. The small boxes are 1 millimeter high and 1 millimeter wide. Heavier boxes are drawn every 5 millimeters, so it makes it very easy to count off larger numbers of boxes. The amplitude setting of a standard ECG machine is 10 millimeters per millivolt, so 10 of these small boxes is equal to 1 millivolt, which is 1,000th of a volt. Therefore, 5 small and a box is equal to 40 milliseconds of time, and if you add up 5 small boxes, typical signals of an electrocardiogram, a P wave, a QRS complex, and a T wave. And these repeat again, PQ interval. Consider that you can easily create this example if we take 60,000 divided by the R2R interval, which we already calculated was 600 milliseconds. 600 milliseconds into 60,000 is 100, so that's 100 beats per minute. And that's how fast this heart rate is going. Now you can easily create a little chart in your head with the RR interval on one side and the heart rate on the other. If the R to R interval is 1,000 milliseconds, the heart rate is 60. If it's 600, the heart rate is 100. And if the R to R interval is 300 milliseconds, then the heart rate is 200. And these all fit into this equation. But there's an easy into this ECG pretty simply. Milliseconds, line 60, and the next line 50 beats per minute. Well, now, does this make sense? Let's see. If we measure that 60 beat per minute interval, you'll find that you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 small boxes. Well, remember, 25 small boxes is 1 second, and that would correspond with 60 beats per minute, because in that case, you'd have 1 beat every second. So this system does work pretty nicely. Let me show you another example. In this case, we again have a P wave, a QRS complex, and a T wave. But this heart rate is obviously much slower because the R to R interval is much longer. It so happens that this S wave lands on a heavy line, and we can just as easily count backwards as we can forwards. So let's count. This would be 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, and this line would correspond with a rate of 50 beats per minute. Now, since we see that this S wave lands a little to the left of this heavy line, then the heart rate must be a little bit slower than 60 beats per minute, but obviously nowhere near 50. So we would guesstimate that this is about 58 beats per minute. What if we were to calculate it? Well, the interval that we're measuring in milliseconds is 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,040. So if we were to take 60,000 and divide it by 1,040, now we can take our calculator and plug in 60,000 divided by 1,040, and we would get the exact rate of 57.6975 QT interval. We can place the first of numbers for a P wave that lands close to a heavy line, then just measure how many milliseconds there are between the beginning of the P wave and the beginning of the QRS complex. In this case, it looks like 40, 80, 120, not quite 160, I would say 150 milliseconds would be this PR interval. The QRS complex here is just about 2 small boxes wide. That gives us 80 milliseconds. To measure the QT interval, we can come over to this beat. And so I want to introduce you to a very handy tool that electrocardiographers frequently use. ECG calipers are very handy to make these kinds of measurements. Use calipers by placing one of the points of the caliper at one end of the interval you're trying to measure, and then move the other end of the calipers until you're at the point of the end of the measurement. Now what you can do is simply move the calipers and place the first point on a heavy line, and you can easily measure off intervals. Now we mentioned that the normal PR is between 120 and 200 milliseconds in duration, and the normal QRS is around 60 or 80 to 120 milliseconds in duration. But what's the normal QT interval? Well, it turns out that that varies, and it really depends on the heart rate. At faster heart rates, the QT interval tends to be shorter, and at slow heart rates, the QT gets longer. And that really has a lot to do with the duration of the action potential of those cardiac muscle cells. And the heart is able to repolarize faster at faster rates. Although we measure the QT interval on the electrocardiogram, we need to be able to correct it for the heart rate. And the corrected QT interval is written QT with a small c, and it's equal to measured QT divided by the square root of the R to R interval in seconds, not milliseconds, but seconds. So in this example, the R to R that we measured was 1,040 milliseconds. Well, since there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second, if you divide that by 1,000, you'll get the number of seconds. But the easiest thing is to just shift the decimal point over 3 spaces, and what this is equal to is 1.04 seconds. Now you really need to get your calculator out. We'll take the QT interval that we measured, which was 380, and we'll divide that by the square root of this number. So we put 1.04, take the square root of that, and then the equal sign gives you this number of about 372. So then the QTC, or corrected QT interval, is equal to 372 milliseconds. What's normal? Well, in males, the normal QTC is up to 420 milliseconds, and in females, the normal QTC is up to 440 milliseconds. So those are numbers that you should keep in mind because these represent the upper limits of normal. A long QT interval is an important finding on an ECG. There are situations when measuring the rate may be more challenging because the rhythm may be very irregular. In that case, some of the R to R intervals may be short, others a little bit longer, some very short, and some very long, and it's hard to know which one to use. The best way to measure an irregular heart rate is to count the number of beats in a certain period of time. Well, you could run a rhythm strip for 60 seconds and count the number of beats, but that would be a waste of paper. What if we counted the heartbeats in 30 seconds and multiplied by 2? Well, that's a little better. When you consider that a normal ECG has about 10 seconds in it, the most convenient way to measure an irregular heart rate is to measure the rate over 6 seconds and then multiply by 10. So simply find a QRS complex that lands near a heavy line, and since we know that 5 heavy boxes equals 1 second, just count off 30 boxes. Then count the number of R to R intervals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is about a half. So the average heart rate in this strip right here is 75 beats per minute. Here's another example of a rapid irregular
I found
heart
online
beat.
Resources to
Just
study
pick a
for like
QRS complex that lands on a heavy line and then count off 6 seconds. 1, 2, it's 1,000, 1 point, then normal finding on an ECG song, and it's challenging because the rhythm may be very irregular. In that case, some of the R to R intervals may be short, others a little bit longer, some very short, and some very long, and it's hard to know long, and it's an irregular heart rate strip for 60 seconds and count the number of beats, but that would be a waste of paper. What if we counted the heartbeats in 30 seconds and multiplied by 2? Well, that's a little better. When you consider that a normal ECG has about 10 seconds in it, the most convenient way to measure an irregular heart rate is to measure the rate over 6 seconds and then multiply by 10. So simply find a QRS complex that lands near a heavy line, and since we know that 5 heavy boxes equals 1 second, just count off 30 boxes. Then count the number of R to R intervals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is about a half. So the average heart rate in this strip right here is 75 beats per minute. Here's another example of a rapid irregular heartbeat. Just pick a QRS complex that lands on a heavy line and then count off 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now count the number of R to R intervals you find in those 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and a little bit more. So we can estimate that this rate is between 130 and 135 beats per minute. In summary, we learned the importance of the ECG grid in measuring 5, 6, 7, and this is about a half. So the average heart rate in this strip right here is 75 beats per minute. of a rapid irregular heartbeat. Just pick a QRS complex that lands on a heavy line and then count off 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now count the number of R to R intervals you find in those 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and a little bit more. So we can estimate that this rate is between 130 and 135 beats per minute. In summary, we learned the importance of the ECG 35 beats per minute. In summary, we learned the importance of the ECG grid in measuring heart rate. We learned that the R to R interval can be used to calculate the heart rate by dividing that number into 6. We learned intervals. This measured QRS duration interval and learned how to calculate.
This method can go R to R. It's 200. 200 times 6 is 1,200. 1,280. 60. So 47. So math correct, right? Yeah. 47. 6 large boxes. 1 large box is 200. That's what they're saying is 1,200. 1,200 plus 80. 60,000 divided by 280. That's what I got 47. Do that count. Try to know my normal values to the appropriate ECG in the boxes. Oh, the ranges. QTC can be pretty high. I believe this is pretty short. Just in case, just save this arrangements. Sinus match the electrical vectors with their corresponding definitions. Lead 1 goes from right arm to the left arm. 2 goes from right arm to the left leg. This is what it is. This is better. Correctly identify the rhythm shown below. Hello, freaking was listening. Did I skip a video? Oh.
In this video, we're going to review the concept of electrical vectors and the electrocardiographic axis. We're going to discuss how to recognize a normal sinus rhythm on an ECG. And we're going to learn two basic diagnoses, sinus bradycardia and sinus tachycardia. As you can see from this animation, during a normal rhythm, the electrical signal starts in the high right atrium and travels down into the patient's left. The electrical signal then spreads through the His-Purkinje system, also resulting in movement of the electrical signal down into the patient's left.
Goes down into the right.
Electrocardiograms are obtained by attaching electrodes to the patient's 4 limbs. There are also a series of electrodes that are attached to the patient's chest wall, and these are called precordial leads. The first step in understanding how to analyze signals on the ECG is to appreciate the concept of electrical axis, which is related to the fact that the electrical signals in the heart have a direction, which is down into the patient's left. The 6 standard ECG leads, known as the limb leads, are obtained using the right arm, and the left leg. Different combinations of these electrodes lead right fascia leg degrees above the horizontal, but 6 equal, which is angled 30 degrees above the horizontal. AVL, which is recorded from the left arm and monitors signals going towards that direction. And finally, AVF, which monitors signals traveling straight down towards the feet. These 6 leads allow us to tell what direction the signal is traveling in. The P wave during a normal rhythm should be traveling down and towards the left, and so it should record a positive deflection in lead 1, in lead 2, and also in AVF. Let's look at a normal rhythm recorded on a 12-lead ECG. You can see that the leads are labeled 1, 2, 3, AVR, AVL, AVF, and then the precordial leads V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. Let's just pay attention to the limb leads. The P wave, which is in front of every QRS complex, is upright in lead 1, 2, 3, and even AVF. This tells you that the P wave indeed is traveling down and to the patient's left. And if we now calculate the heart rate, we'll find a QRS that lands on a heavy line and then count off the quick way to calculate heart rate 300, 150, 100. This line would be 75, so the heart rate is close to 90 beats per minute. If we wanted to be more exact, the R interval here is QRS that lands on a heavy line and then count off the quick way to calculate heart rate 300, 150, 100. This line would be 75, so the heart rate is
the heart rate calculations. Ratio 300.
This line would be wave indeed is find a QRS heart rate 300, 150, 100. This line would be 75, so the heart rate is close to 90 beats per minute. If we wanted to be more exact, the R to R interval here is 640 milliseconds. If we divide 60,000, or just 6, by 640, the heart rate here is about 94 beats per minute. Heart rates between 60 and 100 beats per minute that have normal 40 milliseconds. If we divide 60, so the heart rate is close to 90 beats per minute. If we wanted to be more exact, the R to R interval here is 640 milliseconds. If we divide 60,000, or just 6, by 640, the heart rate here is about 94 beats per minute. Heart rates between 60 and 100 beats per minute that have normal appearing P waves that are upright in 1 and AVF are considered to be coming from the sinus node. And because this rate is in the normal range, we call this a normal sinus rhythm. Rates above 100 beats per minute are referred to as sinus tachycardia, and rates below 60 beats per minute are referred to as sinus bradycardia. Let's look at a few more examples. Here you're looking at beats per minute are referred to as sinus tachycardia.
So normal sinus rhythm is equal to the range of 60 to 100 BPM. Sinus tachycardia. I remember this. Tom Brady is slow, so bradycardia is slow.
And rates below 60 bradycardia, pulling in the proper direction. The P wave is positive in lead 2 because the signals are traveling towards the left leg. Indeed, these P waves are positive, and scanning across it looks quite regular. We can calculate the rate by counting off large boxes, 300, 150, 100, 75, 60. So it's a little bit faster than 60 beats per minute. We'd label it as about 64 beats per minute. The PR interval looks normal at about 160 milliseconds, and the QRS duration is 2 small boxes or 80 milliseconds. You can use calipers to measure the QT interval. If we just squeeze these down and then pick them up and put the first point on a heavy line, the QT interval measures 440 milliseconds, and the corrected QT interval would be 440 divided by the square root of the R to R interval, which would be 2,468, 960 milliseconds, so 0.96. 440 divided by the square root of 0.96 is 449, root of the...
Let's see if I calculate that too. That's 10, 20, 40. 40 times 5 is 200. 200 times 4 is 800. 800 plus 160. 960.
R to R interval, which would be 2,468, 960 milliseconds, so
Okay,
0.96. 440 divided by the square root of 0.96 is 449. That's pretty close to normal. In males, the QTC 400 as within, so as normal sin and AVF rhythm, abbreviated NSR. Here's another 12 lead, and you can begin to recognize a normal sinus rhythm pretty quickly. The P waves here are upright in 1 and AVF, so the P wave axis is normal. In this case, however, the heart rate 300, 150, 100 is a bit faster than 100. It's about 105 beats per minute. The PR, QRS, and QT intervals look fairly normal, and we can call this sinus tachycardia because the heart rate is greater than 100. In this last example, you can see that the QRS complexes are a bit further apart. And if we find one that lands on a heavy line and count off the intervals 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, 50, it's just a bit faster than 50 beats per minute, with upright P waves in 1 and AVF, and normal intervals indicating the diagnosis of sinus bradycardia. Which should be 100. We're understanding that we're beginning to understand P waves in 1 and AVF and normal intervals indicating the diagnosis of sinus bradycardia. So in summary, we're beginning to understand the concept of the electrical axis, with lead 1 showing us signals traveling towards the patient's left and AVF looking at signals traveling towards the feet, and understanding that normal P waves should be upright in these two important leads. If the P waves are going in the right direction and the rate is 60 to 100, we refer to that as a normal sinus rhythm. Rates greater than 100 are labeled as sinus tachycardia, and rates less than 60 are known as sinus bradycardia.
Wow. Okay. Lead 1 is signal from right arm to the left arm. Lead 2 is right arm to the left leg. This is left arm to the left leg. So this one looks freaking short, so someone's like tactical. Just to be safe, R to R, this is 200 or 100, 300, 150, 100. It can't be normal. To be exact, though, it could be 200, 400, 100, 520. So 60,000 divided by 520. 120 or 115. So it's definitely tactical.
Congratulations! You have completed the module on Introduction to the Heart and the Normal ECG. Throughout this module, you have learned about the various parts of the cardiac conduction system.
Wow. Oh, I should make a collection of these. Electronic course certifications. Introduction to Introduction to the normal ECG. So let's take about an hour-ish. Introduction. ECG. Finished. So go tonight. Alright, need a break. 26. Break time. Sit down. Heart rhythm. Hello?
As
Oh.
you know, the LCS has developed over the years, what the
Hello.
culture in the organization is going to look like. For example, the fact that so many teams,
Who's
as you can
playing
probably
right now?
attest to at this point, Jat,
United
use
versus
their
EG.
academy teams as scrim
Who's the second
partners
team?
or a place to, you know, workshop
Evil
ideas.
Geniuses.
So hey, Darshan, Sven, right? If these players are not actually going to be on the starting roster, we're still getting a look at the practice partners essentially for the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, look, they don't have Copy and Malice for their academy team, but for sure, knowing that you have that bot lane and Darshan, and the fact that this team went to semifinals here says a lot. And just being able to watch them showcases that you'll have good scrim partners. I mean, LS, he's been very vocal about that, how it's going to benefit the team in the long run, the LCS team, if you have a consistent scrim partner that you have trust. And also, you can hide strategies if it's
Yep.
internal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the big thing we touched upon yesterday too is like.
Wait, is this live right now?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I thought you were still watching a video.
No. I was trying to find if Sneaky Medias and Double Lift were streaming, but they're not.
When are you gonna start studying?
About that.
It's freaking cold in my house.
I turned on the heater and then it got too hot, so I had to turn it back down.
Mom, are
trying-
you not cold?
Jeez.
Yeah?
She's
It's
hot.
cold
for me.
in here.
I'm standing over the frying pan, Kelly.
True. It's not because I didn't eat enough. See, I told you so. It always comes back to food.
It's always, if you don't do what I say, you can get out of my house. Asian things.
No, they miss me too much.
And my parents confronted Maddie about how rude she was.
About
About like her attitude. She has like attitude.
um,
Common things. And the first thing they go, "Do you want to live in this house?" And she goes,
no.
let me think about it. I guess. Of course.
I feel like she has an attitude, but like if her parents were ever like serious enough about kicking her out, like she would lose it. You know, she would lose her attitude real quick.
Oh, they tried. They like left her outside for a little bit, so then she went into the garage and went into the car. And then I think like they're like, "Oh, you can."
Where's mom? Whatever. Sorry, Steph. There's a bug I was trying to kill.
It's okay. This girl's so dumb though.
Think we all have an attitude. Well, actually, not all of us, but I don't know.
Like growing up, yeah.
In high school and stuff.
Mhm.
Going through. She's an angsty teenager.
But I feel like teenagers nowadays are very self-entitled.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I can't agree with that. Oh shit, it's cold.
I don't know. Is it just me or like, do your feet get like Kelly?
Wait, what'd you say, Steph? Sorry, my mom's talking to me.
Do your feet get really cold?
Yeah, my feet and my hands are always cold, like, no matter what.
Maybe try socks. I don't know. I'm like, I put a
Maybe
blanket
try
over my head. I put socks on. It didn't work.
I don't like wearing socks though. Like, I'm weird about that. I don't like socks.
House slippers.
Yeah, but then my hands are still like, my feet get cold, but my hands are the really bad ones.
Want me to send you some hand warmers?
No, I'm okay. I'm used to it. That's why when it's too cold, I'm like, guys, I can't game. My hands are too cold.
I should go see my grandparents. Oh wait, I'm seeing them tomorrow. Never mind.
Build the bridge.
Hey! Fleet footwork on Jinx.
Oh yeah.
God. Ingo's OP. It's pretty good.
Yeah. He also shit talked Bjergsen when he played against him too.
Oh, it's C9.
Yeah. I'm rooting for EG. Jojo Pune, the 17-year-old ex-Fortnite pro.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fortnite?
Yeah, he used to be pro in Fortnite.
Tomato Town.
I didn't know that.
Does C9
Fortnite
have
had
Malphite?
pros.
Yeah.
They have a Malphite ulti.
Yeah.
How balanced?
Cold.
Yo, what's Jojo Pew doing?
Yeah. Oh, what the heck? Impact on EG?
Yeah. Yeah, he stayed.
$200 times the music. p.m. Divided by 60,000. $60,000. Oh, I see. 60,000 divided by 110, 545 milliseconds. It should be 750 times 60,000. Should always be 60,000 divided by stuff. These are bad. finished this section today. Calculate the rate. Determine the regularity. Analyze the rhythm. Okay. Rate generally refers to the ventricular rate always. Resting rate is typically 60 to 100 BPM. The term regularity is the consistency of the RNR. PR should also be consistent and be between those numbers. You seem to be in the RR location. Should be roughly about 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes of each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, no. That's it. Oh, I see. You just can't look at the bottom of it. QRS is roughly around 2 boxes, so it's 80-ish. R to R is roughly 5, 10, 15, 20 plus 2. 22 times 40 is 880. 880. Oh, did I do my math correctly? 200. 88 calculator out 280 2000. $68. What? P regularity R P present. Ah, that's a lot to do. Right. Heart rate was this is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's definitely long. 5 times 4. 25 times 40. 1,000. 60,000. Plus 1,000. Definitely less than 60. PP regularity. Yes. The P wave is present. There is one. P regularity. QRS was normal, roughly 2 boxes, 80-ish. You don't want the QRS, so you don't want the QRS to be larger than 30 boxes. Definitely short. 3, 4, and 2. This is what? RR regular is definitely different. P location. P to P is also very regular. Storm four of these. The P's appeared. What is a regular P on it? Frick is my thing. Oh, I was studying on the side. Let's see, what is this? Oh, here it is. So yeah, that makes sense. It was a sinus rhythm, the normal one. Sinus bradycardia. Just copy these slides. Alright. Just have to do this for my EKG and then EMG later. EKG example strips. this one. I'm getting slowing down. Definitely slowing down. All the way over here with tachycardia, the for arrhythmia, is when you get irregular patterns. The sinus arrhythmia. Oh gosh, so that was a pause and a rest. What is the difference? Pause, except during droppings. P wave is present. That's hard. So I think for the exit block, the lengths are the same. When it continues to P. Here there's a pause. Sinus pause and a rest. Exit block. Does the P interval? Different morphology during PC. So the third P gets shorter. Atrial tachycardia. It was normal, right? 4-ish, 4 times 860,000. It was like 60,000. 75 it should be. Then here it gets so short. So atrial tachycardia if it's different shapes of P's. None here. Barely weird stuff here. Multifocal atrial tachycardia. Let's see. Looks like a flutter. Okay. Sawtooth. AFib. I think I memorize this one. You just can't tell any of the ways of the QRS or T. No discernible P waves. No P wave. Junctional rhythm. Super fast. PC. Ventricular rhythm, junctional rhythm, slither. Dropped beat, I see. Stuff in fluffy. Ventricular fibrillation versus atrial fibrillation. AFib. Something ventricular for sure, though. Tachycardia. Because it speeds up, then why? How do you tell between this versus that? There's somewhat of a rhythm. Ah, see, there's somewhat of a rhythm with fast tachycardia. Oh shoot, what diffuse? QRS. This is can't be a heart block. Has to be. Guess that's A. It is AFib. What the fuck? Atrial fibrillation. Chaotic atrial activity. No discernible P waves. Let me see. So they're saying that. Identify the rhythm. Identify the rhythm. Ventricular tachycardia, sinus bradycardia. This is what complete heart block looks like? I would not have guessed. Identify the rhythm. There is barely any P, but there is a Q, R. T is really high. It's just, let's see, it's really slow though, so it has to be a bradycardia. If this is what it's supposed to look like normally, right? PQ, roughly even amount of spacings. This already looks like a bradycardia because it's already super slow. Okay. Tachycardia. This looks normal to me, but it's considered an arrhythmia. The only reason it can be considered an arrhythmia is if the P waves length starts to vary. So here, I can see that it does increase here. So that's like a freaking pause. Oh yeah, so it's an arrest. Can't. Seems like it gets super short and then goes up. So that has to be a fibrillation, attack, premature atrial contractions. Not guess that. Really short, so tachycardia. We can't. It's all squiggly, so atrial. Yep. AFib, atrial flutter. Ventricular. How do you determine? How to determine ventricular rate in ECG? The best way to determine the ventricular heart rate would be to simply. Oh, the heart rate. I see. Yeah, it is definitely slow. AFib. Flutter, ventricular tachycardia, frick. Fib, saw like. I would definitely have to practice this one. they're gonna ask me. Yeah, say that you're capable of doing this. God. Alright, I'm done. Five questions. It says, which structure accounts for most of the duration of the PR interval? It's either the essay note or the AV note. Which of the following are considered a normal duration for the PR and QRS? 120 to 200. Which rate is equivalent to an interval of 800 ms? 800? 60,000 divided by 75. Which of the following most accurately describes atrial fibrillation? AFib is has to be a tachycardia. I can't tell. I think it's a sinus tachycardia. Heart rhythm interpretation. Heart rhythm interpretation. ECGs, basic ECGs. study these too. Alright, let's save this for later after food. So it is 2:28. Finished course. Basically, things left to do. 2 more essay revisions. EMG reading practice. Cardiac rhythm device lesson plan. I'll do the pacemaker as well, just to be safe. Research, Abbott, products, look over job description. What else? That's it, right? Edwards interviews next week. Friday. Oh. Okay. Makes a clean number. Right. Whoa. Who's winning?
Hi.
Inspired's just farming. Do something, dude.
Don't worry. He has the lost chapter. He found it.
Jungle actually does feel so much better in games where you just fucking full clear and then clear another side like what he's doing and then go for some shit. So many games where I play jungle and I force some shit level 3, I just end up behind the whole fucking game, even if it works.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good when all of your 3 lanes are winning.
That's a good point.
I don't think there's anything more blessed than playing jungle for a team where all of your lanes are just going to win naturally.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more cursed than playing jungle for a team where all of your lanes are going to lose.
Yeah, that
if you don't
feels
fucking
bad.
carry their lane, they're going to lose.
Yep.
That is just too funny.
And you feel forced to.
Yeah, you're
all that
pressured.
shit.
Yeah, like
Every
you feel like
second of the game
farming a
you're farming,
camp is
you're
making a
pressured.
mistake. You're just like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude, like I'm missing an opportunity to win this game. When it's such a bad mindset to get into though, because like that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
Let them figure out their own problem.
Yeah, like
No, but then in the review, it's like, well, I mean, like, it was a really good time for you to come here. He's playing so aggressive. Like, he's just humping me under my turret if you just came one time. And it's like, okay, bro.
Dude, that was my fucking Optic experience. It was like legit every game my bot lane would lose their turret and have like 50 to 100 CS, and like we just didn't have enough bot lane pressure. I'm like,
Wait, are you talking about
uh-huh.
Arrow and Big?
Yeah.
You know what's really funny is like, Arrow's a lot different now. His laning is actually a lot better now, but man, his laning on Optic was fucking sketchy.
Yeah, I'd just be like, and then I'd have the coach and other people telling me like, oh, well, you just need to show some presence. Like, just show bot lane. Make it back up. I'm like,
That's
how the
the
fuck
worst
is
thing
that
that you
adding
can do.
pressure? That just lets the whole team know where I am.
Your coach is actually a dumbass. Like, that is the last thing that you should do. Not showing is more pressure than showing.
That's what I would say, and they'd be like, no. No, you just gotta go for stuff, Meteors. You can't be so passive. I'm just like,
oh
my goodness, what have I signed up for?
Dude, what the fuck? Oh man, that's actually hilarious.
Good times. Good times.
Good fucking times, man. Not trying to call anyone out, but Zabatine, what the fuck, bro?
I like Zabatine.
Oh,
wait.
What
oh
the
god, he tried to
fuck?
go for Lantern.
Oh,
Dead.
Sven! Oh my god.
Damn, that was cringe.
Sven
That was
is
real cringe.
Sven is extremely cringe right now. Like, did you see him just stand still clicking that lantern? Like, what the fuck was that?
Do you think he's like super in his own head because he's playing as Vulcan right now and just getting shit on by him?
Yeah, yeah.
He's just
actually think
replaying
so.
every disagreement they've ever had in his head right now, being like, "Fuck,
no,
was
no,
Vulcan
he can't
right?"
be right. When your ex gets with Chad.
Annie the Chad.
Well, yeah, that's really what's happened here. Vulcan got with EG, who is Chad. And Sven is just a fucking beta male right now. He's a beta male scrim scrim partner.
It's fucked up. Stuck in scrim hell.
Bro, like...
Normally you
Nah,
get to think
like,
not that
no.
much of scrims, because you're like, it's whatever, we got stage. But there is no stage for him.
I played a bit against Sven in solo queue. I think he's definitely not in his best shape right now. I've seen him play obviously way better than that.
Looking a
But
little
that
chubby.
like, yeah, he's a bit out of shape. Put it that way.
Damn.
Little
can
too
always
many
tell.
burgers.
Like, I can tell when I'm playing bad, I'm just like, man, I am fucked right now. Like, I'm so bad. I think Sven's a bit out of it.
Oh, we will see.
Has he been?
We'll see. Maybe he'll pop
Does he
off
still
this
grind
game
his
now.
shit down? Is he still playing a ton of solo queue? Or has he been taking a break?
I got him in one of my games and he just literally mental boomed at level 2. It was fucked. Like, I'm talking
On your
he was-
team or were you against him?
On my team, He was just playing Type Racer for the rest of the game with the support. It was actually, he was right. He was
Oh.
So instead of taking the lantern, Fudge just flashes? That was weird.
Maybe he's trying to save it for Blabber, who also didn't
No
take
trust. Oh god. What the fuck? Holy
Not a
Darshan
bad ulti
gets
by
out?
Fudge. Yeah.
Oh man, this is so like dirty to watch. I thought this would be a closer series. C9 just seems completely dysfunctional.
EG just... Oh, wait. They're giving one back.
Ooh.
Oh, he can't take Q. He can't take Q.
Oh my god.
Hold up.
Dude, inspired ran out of energy. He couldn't take his Q, and then he just gets hooked right as he has the energy. That was so fucking sad.
I thought Blabber played that well with that ult.
Yeah, that
He,
was
jumped
nice.
away from Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
funny
C9
that-
is just fucking working EG. Like, this isn't even close. C9's just
Yeah.
so much better.
Yeah, I thought
He is-
EG
you're
would be
so
way
smart,
better.
man.
Yeah, I thought EG would put up a better fight, but I guess C9's just like too good.
Yeah.
So let's see how they win this 4v5, because if Felix is taking bot the entire time, just feels like Jinx has done no damage this whole time, walked into a Victor stun, gets out, okay, that's fine. Now everyone's 1 HP and Vulcan thinks he can go back in. To be honest, it's not a bad play if JoJo's still here, but JoJo's like super far away. Oh, W gets canceled, sad.
Yeah.
Look at this Q, he's looking for energy, he should just auto attack somebody there. but he
Yeah,
gets
that was.
confused. That's okay. That's not a crazy misplay. It's just fucked.
It was
It's
small
sad.
things. Like if Vulcan
Yeah.
waited for Lee Sin to be in W range, it looks different. If Lee Sin auto Jinx for energy, it looks different.
Yeah.
Fish in a barrel.
And given that context that Aphelios was just smacking bot turret the whole time, that actually is so much worse for C9.
Yeah, and looking at bot turret right now, it's at 1 fucking plate. That is, oh my god. They're
I mean,
gonna
they
give
legit
Danny
lost a
9 plates.
5v4 situation. They just
Yeah.
afterwards killed themselves doing
Yeah.
some weird shit.
Yeah. Overall, though, XP should be in C9's favor slightly. Actually, not even, because Danny was getting XP that whole time on the wave.
What we do is right.
I was thinking like the kills give them the XP lead, and the Herald gives him the gold lead on the other side, but that's not even
He's
true.
living the Aphelios dream, dude. This is why people play Aphelios for this moment right here, where you run around killing turrets with red, white gun.
Yeah, that's true. Part of me just feels like C9 should have known their win condition on that Herald timing, which is like, you probably shouldn't leave bot lane. And also, are your champs really that good at fighting the Herald there? I don't really think so. I think Jinx definitely needs more time.
They just have to pick people. They have good catch with Thresh, Lux, Jarvan, but
does Impact just?
Oh!
Does
my
Fudge
God.
know how
It's a
Gwyn
1v2.
works?
No.
Are you
No, I don't-
kidding me?
I-
Why
I
did
don't-
he
I don't
just
think-
shoot everything into her W?
I don't think Fudge has ever
my
played Riz Gwyn in his life. He should probably try playing top lane a bit. That would help him understand the champs.
Bruh.
That was disgusting. Wait. He has Gale Force.
Gale's
dude.
still
That
up.
was-
Gale's still up. This is Gale auto. This is Gale auto dead. Oh no, he is healed. He is
Flash
healed.
Gale auto.
And Guardian.
Wait. Whoa, what? Oh my God!
Sven died with heal up!
Sven's fucking washed.
Sven is washed. Sven is washed. That was
Holy
obvious,
fuck.
bro. That was fucking obvious.
Dude, he was playing that so fucking troll.
Dude.
He walked into the turret again, and then he stayed in Danny's range, and he didn't heal.
Yeah. No, he's in his own head. He's in his own head. A normal
Literally
player
begging to die.
A normal player doesn't walk into the Aphelios turret or die with the ult. Like, he's so fucking mental boomed right now. It's crazy.
Oh, the blue steal. This is how it all starts, dude. This is how comebacks start. Off of a simple buff steal.
Honestly, if I'm Blabber and my fucking mid laner, at 3-1, my mid laner takes blue, I'm just gonna open. There's just no point. Watch how Fudge plays this, by the way.
Watch Fudge.
It's so disturbing.
The W's down. It's not even like he did it reactionary. What am I watching? What the fuck did you think was gonna happen, dude?
Oh my God.
That was actually fucking insane to see.
First time against Gwyn. That's what it felt like.
That's so wild. Dude, C9 is just mental boom. Like, they're making
swap, let's
mistakes
go.
that no one would fucking make these mistakes unless they're mental boomed as fuck.
Yeah. No, big time, big time. I was actually kind of saying, like when we're talking about like all the 8 tier mythic items and mythical builds, I think Aphelios looks a lot better when he goes, like typically they just do crack and PTIE. It looks really fucking strong with PTA. I don't know why. I don't know why PTA feels good, but it just does.
It's very easy to proc, is why.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have a lot of like
Give you a stack of
auto
it.
synergy.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it like literally doesn't work with lethal.
It's definitely more upfront damage compared to Conqueror or Lethal.
Yeah.
I mean, if
the
Conqueror wasn't
burst,
nerfed, that one was still good.
the burst of PTA feels really nice. This is definitely the build. I mean, Gale Force versus Kraken is up to the game. I like the Gale this game because they have Jarvan. Makes sense.
PD definitely seems, if you don't need the range from Rapid Fire, PD seems kind of crazy. Because isn't it, there's like almost the same stats as the other Zeal items, but also gives you AD. Like obviously you need to get the autos to ramp up the attack speed, but
yeah,
seems real good.
You lose the utility of the other, like you just said, like the range.
Yeah, you get like giga move speed though in return, don't you?
Well, I mean, it's not giga, but a bonus percent, yeah. It's good. I wouldn't just default it every game. Depends on your champ.
I kind of like what Double was saying about it. Kraken PD is default, just big damage.
I think your damage doesn't really matter most of the time.
Oh, that's
Burst.
even playing AD carry. All right.
Oh. Well, I'm getting enlightened about Sneaky's playstyle right now.
No, I mean the Gale Force utility is gonna prove way more useful in a lot of situations. Like,
Yeah.
one Kraken hit isn't gonna do jack fucking shit a lot of times.
You're right, and it's I think I especially agree with that when the enemy team has like no real tanks. Like Jarvan is obviously a tank, but everyone else is so squishy. Sometimes getting Gale Force auto off on someone is just enough to swing the fight, and create opportunities like what we saw there with mid, right?
Or
Having Gale Force
reposition defensively.
Yeah, just being able to mind control someone to walk into your traps, into a Gale Force, into no heal, like that only happens when you go that item.
That's true. Big true.
Both AD carries not upgrading boots. How do you feel about this?
I like it.
Control?
Really?
Ooh,
Yeah.
conflicting
I like it.
answers. Fight.
I think-
1v1.
Well, okay, like before first item, obviously I don't like upgrading it, but after first, it's just better than Ezreal, just definitively.
It is, but you're already behind, right? Like, so from the Jinx's perspective, the only way that you can possibly catch up in terms of damage is being 2 items to 2 items. That's the way I think about it.
But I mean, like if you're talking about like, damage output, like the boots is still just better in every way. It's better move speed, it's better damage. The only thing is it's like your mental, you're like, I'm not behind. You see 2 items to 2 items. But he has fucking the tier 2 boot and the pickaxe over you.
I think, like, what is the equivalent here? Zeal? Wait, actually, you could be right. I'm thinking about your perspective again. So it's like Zeal, 2 longswords, and tier 2 boots versus having no tier 2 boots and like finished PD. I think you're right.
Dude,
It does do more damage.
Sneaky just solo killed double lift. Hardcore. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I mean, just the raw stats.
You
of
just
it.
got outplayed hard, dude. God
I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. I think that makes sense. The raw stats are better on tier 2 boots.
Holy fuck.
Like, I mean, if you got like a full buy on a PD just from like, you know, your gold values ending up that way, then it's fine. I don't mind that.
No,
But
I mean,
if you have like full gold,
even what you're saying though, even if you do have the full buy like right away, just because
Yeah,
it
you'd still
feels
be
good.
stronger.
Statistically, it's still better to go the tier 2 boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
mean,
like, I'm
tier 2
thinking about
boosts
the
give
full-
so much attack speed. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the full stat bonus of having the only reason why you wouldn't is if you think the PD passive is worth like a shit ton.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is. Just like thinking about the full stat benefit.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever
Especially
think
the
it's
move
weird
speed.
that almost no melee champs go Berserker Greaves except like Yasuo, Yone?
No melee champs, berserkers, yeah.
Very few melee champs ever go Berserkers.
True.
It makes sense, just because they're in people's faces way more often. So you're either taking shitloads of autos or you're getting CC'd.
Yeah, or you're like a fucking Camille where all that matters is your cooldown reduction on abilities.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, it's just it's weird to think about because like there are obviously some melee champs that attack speed's good on. I guess Trinimir, Garen, people were saying also do it, but you never see like fucking.
Krind is definitely the like super exception, and Garen, yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
Haven't
and
seen Garen in
Irelia or
fucking
something,
years.
a fucking Rek'Sai, Xin Zhao, you just don't really see it.
Yeah.
Rek'Sai with Zerg used to be so fucking funny.
I feel like I've seen it before, but it's just yeah, it's probably not the best. I feel like Gwen would make a lot of sense on no.
It would. But I think Gwen already does so much damage.
Oh,
every
that
time.
Aphelios triple root!
Triple root. But nothing happens off of it.
Dude, Blabber was trying to give him the kick on Fudge. He EQ'd with the Lee Sin Q. I wanted to see him take it, fucking War Jump, R Flash. Probably wouldn't have been a good idea, but would have been cool for sure.
That would have been an insane combo. And pull him closer to his team.
Oh my god, Lux mid, dude. So strong. We were talking about the strength of Lux though, and not saying this game is like a super real indicator for it, but this is what Lux mids usually look like for me. They're just getting shit on in lane, doing no damage.
First strike, not just.
I'm gonna
best route?
see, yeah, because I want to see the
Pretty sure it's first strike, like not close.
I think first strike's good if you like doing extra damage and getting extra gold.
Yeah, that's
Oh my goodness. Blast cone down, boys.
What the fuck?
Wait, I missed it. What happened?
He Jarvan ulted Danny, who was standing right on a blast cone. He just instantly blast cones out.
That was funny as fuck looking.
Oh, almost a steal. Yeah, I'm looking at the like Lux mid dude, who's like rank 3 on an A. Wait, what is he? Yeah, he's rank 3, and he always goes first strike mid.
Yeah, I don't think Comet's viable. It's like the old rune you would take.
Yeah.
It seemed like something you would do if you were like gonna actually win your lane off of it, but he was still getting absolutely shit on 1v1.
Yeah.
I feel like he should go first
strike's
strike or
just
like fleet
legitimately
or something.
strong in lane too. Like it is not weak.
It's big damn. It's also a great way to make up for your early laning being hard, like just getting extra gold. Every ulti cooldown, you're just farming gold. 50 gold, 50 gold, 50 gold, every fucking ulti.
I still stand by it. I think first strike is super underrated and will probably be real popular by the end of the season, assuming like huge changes.
Oh yeah.
I can
You already know, like,
no other
fucking-
keystone gives gold, even if it only gave gold. Like it would still be situationally good. Klepto was.
Yeah.
But this one gives damage and gold. I don't know. That seems pretty fucking high value to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Although I think the gold part is actually overrated in a lot of
Really?
instances.
I disagree.
It
I think
doesn't
it's-
give that much gold.
But it's
as much as you would
like
think.
any gold is still.
It's only
a lot
later in
compared to none.
overtime.
Yeah. It's like I've
What would
had
you give for
Ezreal
an extra
games
wave of
where I
minions?
get like 500 gold through a game and I'm hitting a lot of damage. Like I'm like ulting a shit ton.
I think 500 is kind of low.
Like
Like,
I've seen some Karthuses who just ult on cooldown getting like 3-4k.
That one is in a crazy abuse case. Yeah, Arthas is definitely like especially good for it.
6 deaths in Curse.
Oh shit, it's Baron time. What's gonna happen?
I love that EG just burger flips. And why is Darshan always so late to TP?
Oh wait, Vulcan's legit just dead.
Yeah, Vulcan's just dead.
What's with everyone playing Tom Kench support?
Look
It's
at fucking
awful.
Danny's. Yeah, look at Danny's chakrams, by the way. They're about to go away, Sag.
Oh.
Honestly,
He does,
though,
like, wait, what the fuck? Wits in Aphelios.
that's pretty interesting for the Akali.
Akali and
Sure.
Lux, there is some value here. Whether or not it's actually necessary is up for debate, but I think it's reasonable.
I've seen this build on Jinx as well. It's like 3 items, you just go Wits End instead of IE, and like, it feels like shit, but your damage is still fine, because a lot of your damage just comes from Kraken Slayer procs. With Aphelios, it's probably similar, just fine. You won't be doing limp damage. He's also, wow, he's like still 1500 gold, 1600 gold ahead.
Lux
Oh,
is
dude,
negative
Lux
gold.
is in debt.
He's getting fucked that
none of this
badly.
one.
He's negative gold.
The Lone Sharks, man. They got him.
Minus 95.
Yo, what if you get banned in League if you end a game with negative gold from Futures Market? Because you didn't pay it back and you have to buy Riot points to get out of debt.
Well, then C9 would all be fucking banned by the end of the season.
I think it'd be cool if there was like something you could spend Riot points on to start with like extra gold in a game or something.
That would be sick.
Blabber?
See a Blabber.
Nah,
What
that's
the
just
fuck?
good play by warding the Lantern. Like that's why you never rely on the Lantern to get you out of situations like that.
Huh.
I like it when Threshes
up and
ping where
dive.
they're gonna throw the lantern before they throw it, so you're already ready to click it, so they can't actually block it.
That's true. Oh, they kind of caught Isles, but actually.
Oh,
it might be
Impact
Tom
has a
Kenchu's
fat fucking flank.
He does. He
Sven
does.
gets the
but Sven
reset
got a
though.
reset. Oh, Sven's
and
dead
it's-
anyways. Gwen is
Dead as
so
hell.
balanced.
Dude,
Wow, I think.
She
I
just
love Gwen.
ran their backline over with
Dude,
absolutely
Gwen
no
is just
fucking.
so fun. cool.
And immune.
And
They have to go Baron here, huh? Because that lave the Lux.
30 seconds on drag. Is EG going to focus on drag too, or are they going to give this one?
Might be able to just go to drag from Baron.
Yeah, just do the walk. I love doing the walk cross map.
Oh, wait.
No, not fast enough. Oh, maybe.
Nah,
Maybe.
They stopped hitting.
Okay.
Oh, smart. Oh. Big damage.
First strike steals that Baron every time.
Wow, they're not gonna walk. They should still get it.
No, I think C9 might have a chance off that recall timing.
We'll see.
Gosh, if Isles just flashes it and then hooks Tom immediately, he doesn't die and Tom dies for free. And then he's still alive to peel the Gwen. That right there is a Gale Force like special. Like killing squishy assassins like that are low HP.
Fucking Lux into Gwen, dude. I can't think of a worse champion interaction than that.
Yeah.
Gwen is immune.
Just straight up, you don't even get rooted. I wonder if Riot's ever gonna like look at their W again. This shit seems like real hard to balance.
Early Zonias by Impact. He actually, wow, Tomkinch actually did something. Tomkinch did it, guys.
Oh my god.
Oh, I've seen that before. I've been there.
Dude, how does an AD carry get killed by Victor? Your positioning has to be so bad for that to happen. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, JoJo,
No, true.
just checking JoJo's flash. I think he might have maybe given him the business.
Oh my god,
my
that
God.
is so tilting.
JoJo's styling. JoJo's styling.
Yo.
Oh my
Yo,
God.
he just gave it to him like that. No fucking way.
Dude, you're getting clowned on the whole fucking
That's
series
funny.
by JoJo, and Fudge is smiling right now. He has an unbreakable mental.
God
He's literally
damn.
getting fucking worked so disgustingly hard. I feel like I'm watching Big God versus Whippo again. It's just disturbing.
Yeah,
Holy
dude, this is
moly.
Yeah, I think the Gwen W is very similar to like a Kali fucking under turrets with her W.
Yeah.
Stealth. I think it's something they will reconsider in the future. It's not the same level of fucking.
It's just too good against certain things.
I think one element that I always try to think about too, because like Lena is a bit of a, like on and off player, and so like she doesn't play like all the time or really know what most champs do. Is it intuitively like enjoyable? Like is it enjoyable or and is it intuitive to play against? And I think no, it's definitely not. Like it feels like shit. It feels turbo broken, and I'm not really even sure if visually it makes like. Are you supposed to inherently understand that you can hit her when you're inside of her W as a range champion? How are you ever supposed to learn that when you're playing Lux against Gwen? You'd have to go to the wiki and read it.
Really
It doesn't give you any sort of indication that if you're supposed to walk melee range of Gwen to hit her. I mean, and that's usually a terrible idea when you're playing Lux versus Gwen anyways. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of problems with that shit, and pro players are gonna take broken mechanics like Yuumi and Gwen and whatever, and they're gonna crank it up to the absolute maximum abuse case possible because that's what that's what you have to do to win. Fucking Gwen, man. Every time I see this champ, it just wins. Yesterday, today, like 2 weeks ago, fucking lock-in tournament starting. Gwen is looking like a power pick top.
I don't know how you would make the indication better for like needing to be inside the Gwen W to damage her.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the kind of cool thing about Zin's circle is the circle is very clear. it's got a very like clear outline, and when you hit him outside of it, it goes ting ting ting, like it's like deflecting bull like stuff. So it feels more intuitive at least. That inside of his circle he takes.
Yeah,
damage.
Gwen's W doesn't have any sound, right? When you like fail an ability or attack.
Doesn't it say Gwen is immune?
Yeah, I mean it
Who the hell
says
is
that,
reading
but
that?
there's no sound like double
saying. Who's reading that, by the way? I don't think anyone's reading that shit in game. I don't.
I mean, I definitely
Well,
see the
as
Gwyneth
someone
Paltrow
who
part, but-
is literate, I do read it.
So in the middle of a team fight, you hit Gwen with a fucking ability, and you zoom in on the text and say, "Oh, Gwen is immune."
Oh yeah.
Alternatively, I know it's going to say Gwen is immune, and I see text pop up, and I don't really have to read it because I already know what it says, but I...
Okay, but if you're first time playing against Gwen, you're not fucking reading the text that pops up, bro.
If he's immune and I don't know why I'm not hurting him, I would read it.
Alright.
I'm not saying Gwen's healthy, I'm just saying there's definitely an indicator that you can't hurt her. How the fuck are they just...
Look
EG's
at
just
Fudge's
party
flash
engaging
there.
4v5. Like, C9's champs are so dog shit to lose a fight like this.
Yeah. No, it's not 45, by the way. Jinx isn't there yet. You can't say that that's a 45. That's just a straight 4v4, and Jinx just barely entered the fight right now, but 2 people are 1 HP.
Let me see. Yeah, but I mean, I think most teams would call this a 4v5. Like, he got zoned and had to go the long way, but like, compared Jinx's positioning to Danny's, it's definitely a 4v5.
But that's... You're thinking about the future. Like, how the fight started is too fast. It's actually a 4v3. If I like look at how the fight very started when Tom Kench pressed W, EG is in a 4v3 situation. Akali's in no range to help. Jinx is in no range to help. So even though it will be a 5v4 in, you know, for C9 it'll be a 5v4 in like maybe 5 seconds. Right now, they're fighting a 3v4. They're actually down numbers on the fight. That's why everyone is fucking flashing out 1 HP. And they can't commit.
Like, if they can go for the fast play where it's a 4v3 collapse, which is good.
Yeah.
So I just feel like in
C9
most
should look at that.
situations, people would consider the situation a 5v4. It's the same way that, like, if someone's going for a fast, or like a gank on a lane and someone makes the fast play before they come, you'd still kind of consider that numbers. Because it was that situation we were talking about a lot yesterday with, like, who was it? Someone getting caught in the river on TL.
It was like
it was the same thing where
Ayla and Santorin getting caught on bot grab, yeah.
Yeah, we
Where
were
there's
talking about
like-
how, like, you know, if Gragas is roaming, there's no reason to fight because it can be a 5v4, right?
I see things clearly.
Yeah. But it's not a 5v4 until everyone's there, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
why,
but like, I think in game you can't always recognize these things. Like, you know that as EG, the situation is that, like, okay, our AD carries bottom, their entire team's here at Herald to contest, right? It was a good play. Like, I like that they went for that decisive engage, but I do have to question how well C9 really played this situation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they played it like shit. I think.
Because, like, isn't Impact kind of trolling walking in the river is Gwen? Like, I think they can just run up at him too, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's really greedy as well that Darshan's grabbing a wave under turret when Gwen is walking through this fight. You definitely, unless it's like the fattest wave ever, in which case I don't know why it's not hitting Herald.
Pretty fat. I can see it on the corner.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a strange time for C9 to be like starting the Herald and
look at it
committing to
again.
It's a real weird situation. It looks like C9 thinks it's free.
Yeah, because Aphelios is bottom. Like, they're thinking no one's going to contest him. But then that's why I'm saying it's a 4v5, right? It's like, even if the fight technically starts 4v3, like,
It will be 45 soon. I agree. I think one of the rules that we had on Team Liquid, which actually helped Impact here being on the reverse side, is you shouldn't start Herald when the enemy top is building a wave. You should always try to get your top laner in a position where he's got the inside track, and the inside track would be he's kind of gatekeeping in river the enemy top laner from being there. So if the enemy top laner wants to walk, he's kind of the bouncer. And in this case, Impact's the bouncer, right? Like he's kind of just wedging himself between Akali and the rest of the fight, and it's like it's just awkward. You never really want to start Herald in these situations. You want to set a top wave first.
Only good for mid and bot, but not top.
I want to see how Blabber held with Herald too, because one thing with Herald is that, like, you don't have to fight it in its pit. Like, you can pull it.
Alright, I'm gonna go now. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, well.
You like the stream I'm watching, Josh? Hello?
Yeah, so.
Oh, you're hella quiet again.
No, really. I don't know why that happens.